In this video, I'll show you where you can acquire the Anguish handgun in Remnant 2's The Awakened King DLC. Now, the weapon has a shocking requirement before you can begin the process to unlock it. You will need to re-roll the main campaign and then play through to Root Earth in order to acquire Anguish after the Awakened King DLC has released. If you've already completed the campaign before the DLC released, very good for you, but unfortunately, you're going to have to replay the entire thing. Now, why the developers have done this is beyond me, because surely if you complete a story, then that should be that story completed. However, I ran through several of these biomes looking for the people that you need to find in order to acquire Anguish, and they were never there until I went off myself and re-rolled the campaign and completed the entire bloody thing again. Now, one good thing about re-rolling campaign is if you've already gone through it once, your gear should be more than powerful enough to go through and do it again. So you should already know the path, you should know what you're doing, but unfortunately it is a requirement that you're going to have to fulfill before you can begin the quest to go after Anguish. Now, just ensure that when you do start your campaign, make sure that you start it on La Somme with the Morrow Parish starting point, as you need to access the Tormented Asylum, which is where you fight the Nightweaver world boss. If for whatever reason you start it off on either the Forlorn Coast or the Beatific Palace, that's not going to work out, as you're then going to need Morrow Parish in adventure mode, because you will need the Tormented Asylum. There's no way around that. And if that wasn't enough of a requirement, you're also going to need to make sure that the entire way through your path to get the Anguish handgun, you don't die. If you use liquid death, you fall off a ledge, or if the enemies kill you, you're then going to need to go back and restart the entire process again just to be able to start the path to get Anguish. So for me, I highly recommend getting the Challenger as your archetype, level it up to level 10 so it's at its most powerful state, equip your best relics, your best gear and your best armour. Don't worry about how you look, don't worry about what your friends think or any kind of bullshit like that. Just equip your best gear, because you need to make sure that you don't die. I died as the Challenger against Bruin just to make sure that it would fulfill the requirements. Obviously, it's what we do when we make guides. We have to go through several different circumstances, but dying as the Challenger doesn't actually count as a death when you go for Anguish. Any other archetype, if you die, game over. You're going to have to restart the entire process again. So once you've got off and completed campaign, you then need to re-roll the DLC from the Forlorn Coast starting point, where you're going to need to find either the Derelict Lighthouse, Cotton's Kiln or the Sunken Haunt biomes, essentially any biome which is on fire, where you then, given the procedurally generated nature of Remnant 2, have a very rare random chance of the ethereal mana spawning in that biome. This essentially looks a bit like the Asylum. Bloody great building with the gates that have already been smashed open. You need to go through, go up to the second floor and then speak to an NPC who will be sitting in a chair. He will kind of jump scare, grab hold of you and then shout at you to wake up. That will then begin your path to acquire the Anguish handgun.
Wake up!
So once the NPC's told you to wake up, you're then going to be in a dreamy version of the ethereal mana. You'll be back out the front. You need to open up your inventory and use the liquid death consumable, which will then kill you. Now, I know that sounds a little bit kind of backwards for acquiring a weapon, but trust me, it's what you need to do. Now, rather than waking up at a normal checkpoint, after you've killed yourself when you're in the dream version of the ethereal mana, you're going to wake up in a new biome called the Consecrated Throne. Go forward and collect the Crimson Dreamstone ring from the throne, and then use the mini checkpoint to walk back to Ward 13. Once you're in Ward 13, head past the firing range and go down the ramp towards the NPC standing at the fire barrel, who you will need to interact with, who will then disappear on you.
Wanna play Clementine and the Giant Rat?
Wake up!
Now with that done, go to the World Stone. If you got the Red Throne as your starting point through campaign, then get yourself over there. If not, re-roll Adventure Mode. Now normally that will reset all of your progress. However, when you're going after Anguish, you are safe to re-roll Adventure Mode. Either way, get yourself over to Yasha, go to the Red Throne. You then need to take the first right before going down the main path towards the Empress's chambers. Deal with the palace guards, go all the way around to the final room and speak with the Dran until the screen flashes white again, where he'll again disappear.
You're knocking on the door of reality. But from which side? The Paxil tech still hasn't figured it out. Wake up!
With the first two Dran found, you then need to go back to Ward 13, switch your game mode to campaign, then travel to the Labyrinth Fractured Ingress checkpoint, head up the stairs to the left of the checkpoint, then go around the walkway where you will again find and speak to the Dran, who you'll need to interact with 6 times, who will then again leave in a flash of light.
I see a hero with 1,000 faces and myriad deaths. I see you watching me, but do you see who's watching you? Well, you can't shoot and dodge away from all your problems, you know. It will end before it begins. Wake up!
Now with that done, we're off to Nerude. You need Tal Ratha's story, so you need the Forgotten Prison as your starting point. If you got it in campaign, then fantastic. If you're unlucky like me, I had Shahala, so I needed to go through Nerude. Again, you need to make sure that you don't die, and Nerude is a tough biome. So just take your time, equip a very powerful weapon such as the Enigma shotgun, or maybe Nightfall, Merciless, anything that you've got that can really crowd control enemies. Make sure that you've got that. Then go all the way through to Tal Ratha's prison, where you're then going to be able to interact with the Dran over to the left of the checkpoint, standing in front of the open kind of zombie pods that are there. Interact with him 6 times, where he will then yet again disappear. Now you are nearly done, so stick with the process.
Oh, you're getting warmer. Don't disturb the silence. Live and die, live and die, again and again, until the end. Oh, you can't run from the enemy within. All will go dark before the light returns. Wake up!
Right, from here, you need to go back to Ward 13, switch your game mode over to campaign, or if you're already on there from the route, fantastic, stay there. Either way, you need to go to Route Earth in the Ashen Wasteland biome, go all the way through, just past the train yard, where you had the kind of fight against all of the route enemies. You're going to find a mini checkpoint just past here. Just behind the checkpoint, leaning up against the chain link fence, will be another Dran. Interact with the Dran as many times as it takes until he finally tells you to wake up and he disappears again.
They see you. They taste you. They're coming for you. You will watch as she devours all. How quickly it all falls to ash. When will the key realize it is the door? How far would you go? You're almost there. Wake up!
Now for the tricky part. This is the bit that kind of fucked me up when I was doing this. I had the Beatific Palace as my starting point for a campaign on La Somme, and it didn't even occur to me that I needed to go somewhere else. However, you need the Morrow Parish starting point, as you need the Tormented Asylum where you fight the Night Weaver boss. So if you've done that on campaign, if you listened to me earlier on, fantastic, well done. If you haven't, you then need to start off from the Morrow Parish starting point in adventure mode and go all the way through to the Tormented Asylum. If you haven't done so, and I'm going to show you a bit of footage of me dying against Bruin, just so that way you can see that we were still able to keep the process going after a death, but only as the challenger. Any other archetype doesn't have the ability to revive itself. I know the handler can get you back up, but for me, I'm not 100% sure if that counts as a death, as you then need to be revived by an ally, essentially, whereas the challenger can just punch the ground and get itself back up. Once you're in the Tormented Asylum, it's simply a case of taking a right look into the wall just by the grate where the special can come out of. You're then going to be able to find the Dran.
I want to wake up. No, I want to wake up. I want to wake up! Is this some kind of joke? We're the same, you and I. Are you dead? Or just dreaming? Are you dreaming? Or just dead? We're all mad.
Either way though, whichever way you do it, once you've interacted with all of the other Dran that we've already mentioned in this video, as well as the one in the Tormented Asylum, you're then going to receive the Dran's Dream. Once you have the Dran's Dream, you can then go into your inventory and equip it on your quick slot, then back out of your inventory, use the Dran's Dream, where you're then going to be taken off to a new biome, the Forgotten Null, which is probably the most serene biome in the entire game so far. Now once you're in this dream world sitting on the coast, you're going to be able to go over to the Dran, who will no longer speak to you, thankfully, but just to his right will be the occult vessel you can pick up. Once you've got the occult vessel, it's then simply a case of using the mini checkpoint, go back to Ward 13, speak with Macabre, where as long as you've got 7 Luminite Crystal and 1000 scrap, you're then going to be finally able to craft Anguish.
You're back. All right, let's see what you've got.
Right, now that you have Anguish, it's going to be up to you whether or not you think it's worth it, which for me, I'm conflicted, as, in all honesty, it's a bit crap, but it's really, really good at the same time. Now, considering the amount we've had to do in order to acquire the Anguish handgun, it's a bit shit, to be honest. On one hand, it's one of the best weapons in the game, but on the other hand, considering everything we've had to do, I'm expecting something more powerful than a Philion, and I haven't got it. I'm expecting something that gives you more health regeneration than Nightfall, and I haven't got it. What this thing does is it's essentially a shotgun that wants to be an assault rifle, that also wants to be a bit of a sniper rifle, as well as thinking it's a grenade launcher, and it doesn't really excel at any of those things. Yes, it's nice having a multi-tool, essentially. You know, you have one thing in your pocket and it can do 100 different things. That's essentially what this is. But there's no focus on the weapon. Yes, its base damage is as a shotgun, but the shotgun rounds, whilst they ricochet around the area and they dig into targets, you only get a base damage of 17.5 and the magazine's only 5. Then, if you hold down the attack button whilst aiming, you're then going to charge up a shot, which is essentially molten metal. It will then fire into the enemy, but in the process of doing so, it then hurts you. Then if we equip the mod, which is called Loathe the Weak, it rapidly fires volatile needles that explode after 1.5 seconds, dealing 30 explosive damage, which again is really good, but it doesn't last all that long. It's only got a mod requirement of 500, so it does recharge fairly quickly, but it's all just a bit kind of, I'm really struggling on how to put the words across. You can probably tell by all my stuttering and muttering, but I can't recommend doing the process that it takes to get Anguish. I can't recommend the weapon. If it was a little bit easier, or if it doesn't matter if you died or anything else, then fair enough. But you need to be an end game level player to be able to go through the entire Remnant 2 DLC without dying. There's no way around it. The game's a tough game. Any opportunity that a boss has to kill you, it will do so. The enemy, especially the Fae and the Som, if they all gang up on you, you're dead. It's as simple as that. To get through all of that and then to have this thing as a reward, it's just not worth it. But given the fact that I've just said it's not worth it and I don't recommend that you go off and get it and all the rest of it, I can't stop using the poxy thing. Every time I have a new run through on Remnant 2, I always kick myself out. I either go the Nightfall, Merciless, Sparkfire Shotgun, or what's the other one? The Aphelion as my main. And then for a secondary, I was always using Starshot. It's a fantastic weapon. You get it over in the road. Excellent, excellent weapon. The Starburst ability that it's got, it just annihilates the field. But I'm choosing Anguish more and more. And to be honest, I don't know why. It's really good at what it does do when it does it. If you know what I mean. Like I say, I'm kind of talking out my arsehole here a little bit. Because whilst I don't recommend getting Anguish, I don't recommend you going through the process, struggling through campaign, making sure that you don't die in a game designed to kill you. I cannot recommend you go off and do all of that for a weapon that's this crap. But if you go off and you do get the Anguish handgun, it's I don't want to say it, but it's really, really good. If you fire a bolt of that molten slag into an enemy that then explodes, it will deal AoE damage into another group of enemies that are around, which obviously helps. The more damage you can do to enemies, the better. The volatile needles that you can fire off as the mod are really good. It does come with a mutator slot, so again, you can equip something else in there to improve the elemental damage that you can cause, and again, that's really, really good. The process of getting Anguish is not good. If there was a way to duplicate this weapon and drop it, I'd do it for you all day long, not a problem. So actually going off and getting Anguish, I can't recommend doing it because it's not worth it. If you have done it and you've got Anguish, then it's an absolute beast against single target enemies. If you've got a boss or an aberration or a tough special that you're struggling with, just flick the mod on and it will annihilate the enemy. But when you combine that with a really small magazine, and the main firing element of the gun doesn't really hit all that hard, and then if you charge it up it hurts you. I've never been so conflicted about a weapon in my entire career or gaming life. If you've already got Anguish, then equip it and use it, you won't regret it. But the process to go off and get it, don't bother. But anyway, that's my take on where you can get Anguish and a little bit about the gun. Hopefully it's been informative for you. If you're a fan of these really long, drawn out videos, subscribe for more and I'll see you on the next one.